new tariffs which are in place in India. Those 25% tariffs have now doubled. That's punitive measures put in place by the US president for India's ongoing purchase of cheap Russian oil. The 50% tariff is the highest on all US trading partners in Asia. New Delhi says the move is unjustified and unfair, while pointing to China, another major buyer of Russian oil, but with a tariff of 30%, facing no punitive actions from Washington. One US official says trade negotiations with China are ongoing, with an informal meeting set for later this week. And this coming Friday, a tariff exemption on goods sent to the US, valued at less than $800, will expire. That means they will lose their duty-free status. And ahead of that deadline, postal services around the world have suspended delivery of those so-called small parcels, with Japan, Australia and Taiwan just the latest to do so. For the US, though, there has been one unmistakable benefit from Donald Trump's tariffs. In just one day, last Friday, bringing in $22 billion in revenue for the US Treasury, with economists forecasting the total for the entire month of August could reach $32 billion. So live to Seoul now. CNN's Mike Valerio standing by for the very latest on those tariffs on India. The Indian government said they will retaliate to these new measures put in place by Donald Trump. But what are their options at this point? What can they do?
So their options, they could potentially cut taxes, but, their economic calculation is going to hold tight for now because the thinking is that Russian oil is so cheap they can perhaps eat these tariffs. But how long will that stay in play when perhaps orders are canceled in California, the ports of Los Angeles, New York, New Jersey, and then that forces Indian factory owners to cut their staff, their number of jobs. So if that happens across India, John, we have new reporting since the last time we saw you last hour of a factory owner saying that what is happening now is, from his point of view, worse than COVID in terms of the number of jobs that he has to cut. And what that could do on a macro level, we were talking about this the last hour, is perhaps, and we stress perhaps, move its thinking closer towards new ties with Russia and indeed with China if this action from the United States with these tariffs up to 50% holds for weeks or months. So why that matters is because Russia, India and China have not exactly been the warmest of friends, especially with China and India. But we have India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi heading to the latest meeting this coming week or in the next few days of the Shanghai Economic Organization and Cooperation Summit, which is a group that is meant to hold regional security together, a group that was founded by Moscow and Beijing to challenge the world order, the Western-based world order from its point of view. Putin is going to be traveling to India by the end of the year. So what is this all doing? Perhaps strengthening ties between India, China, and Russia. To that end, we have Barkha Dutt, a respected journalist in India, talking to our own Fareed Zakaria a couple days ago about the United States continuing its trade with Russia and also China and the EU continuing trade with Russia as well. Let's listen to what she had to say.
India has pointed out repeatedly to the hypocrisy by the United States, by the Trump administration on this issue. The numbers speak for themselves. $3.5 billion trade value between the United States and Russia in 2024 alone. Millions of value in imports of fertilizers and uranium.
And, I should say, John, I'm coming off stretch with the flu. Little brain fuzz at the moment, bungled that name. Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Forgive me forever, again, coming off the flu. But the point here is that as we are watching this developing in the days and weeks ahead, we're going to be seeing what cooperation is like between India and the United States. Ministers between the State Department and India's Ministry of External Affairs met virtually on Monday, and they said, as far as things go with the Quad, the security group that involves India, the United States, Australia, and Japan, things are as they have been. Cooperation was reaffirmed. President Trump and prime ministers who lead the Quad are supposed to meet later this year. But as stock prices continue to tank, one wonders how much longer this will be able to continue. Will we have a trade deal between the United States and India after 5 rounds of negotiations failing? So a lot of dynamics to be watching. Definitely the biggest economic story in Asia happening today. So we will be watching who moves first. What happens with these storylines, John?
Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing. Who's going to blink? And at this point, no one seems ready to blink. So we'll wait and see. Mike Valerio there in Seoul. Hope you're getting better. We all hate a cold or flu. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
CNN's Anna Kuban breaks down the numbers on how the new tariffs will affect India.
It had already been hit by 25% tariffs. Now an additional 25% is being added. India is about to face one of the highest effective US tariff rates in the world. That's the rate that once you calculate various exemptions. That's because after Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022 and Europe started sanctioning Russian oil, Russia focused on selling its barrels to Asia, and India became a big customer. By June this year, nearly 47% of Russian crude oil had been sent to China, and around 38% had been sent to India. Now, last month, Trump announced secondary sanctions on countries purchasing this oil. After that, a crude oil analyst at Kepler noted a slowdown in purchases from India, and that those barrels are being snapped up by China. They noted around 15 cargoes had been sent to China. But that hasn't been enough to stop these sanctions from coming into effect today. That could make certain items that the US gets from India a lot more expensive, from jewelry to jeans. And if that demand is cut down, it could have an impact on jobs in India. But the actual impact on Indian GDP is not predicted to be that significant. You can see here it's just around a knock of around 0.8% based on these tariffs. Now, engineering goods and electricals are a significant portion of the products that India will ship to the US. Earlier this year, India actually overtook China to become the biggest exporter of smartphones to the United States, according to research firm Canalys. But smartphones are exempt from these sanctions, which could provide some relief. Other goods will continue to be sold to the rest of the world without facing a tariff increase. Anna Kuban, CNN, London.